Last night, a big situation unfolded across the Smash Ultimate community, especially on Twitter. And this entire debate was started by one particularly Hungrybox and his Wi-Fi weekly series, the Coinbox. This debate was whether or not to ban one of Smash Ultimate's most hated characters. No, not that one, the other one, Sonic. Today, we'll be going over this debate in full, seeing how it started, going over what was proposed, the pros and cons of it, and the eventual resolution that was reached just last night. Just a reminder before we begin that if you want to support me monetarily, you can do so by using links to my Patreon or channel memberships in the description below. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. Sonix, the recently ranked third best player in the world, has consistently placed at least third at nearly every Coinbox he's entered. And recently, Wrath, the only other top-level Sonic in North America at the moment, has undergone a huge level up, especially online. Over the past few weeks, Wrath has also been making top 4 at nearly every Coinbox, and at the last Coinbox, the catalyst for this entire situation occurred. Spargo, one of the only players capable of defeating either of these Sonic players, got eliminated before top 8. And so, Grand Finals was a Sonic Ditto, Wrath versus Sonix. Now, this wasn't the first time this had happened. The footage you're actually watching right now isn't even the most recent Coinbox that I'm talking about. It's Coinbox number 87, and the one that was the big deal was Coinbox number 90. But either way, this Grand Finals got Hungrybox to release a tweet. This tweet, simply put, was HBox proposing a Sonic ban in the Coinbox once a month. Sonic and Steve would both be banned, and at every other Coinbox, both characters would be legal. HBox asked whether or not this system was better than his current one, which, if you didn't know, is Sonic being always legal and Steve only being legal in the first Coinbox of every month. This actually means that Steve would be legal way more often than he currently is, but this point seemed to be lost on a lot of people. That's because the mere idea of banning Sonic, for most people, was a step too far. But there's something very important to keep in mind when discussing this proposition. This was not an argument of game balance. Hungrybox constantly assured people that he did not think Sonic was a bannable character in Smash Ultimate. But if he's not bannable, then why ban him? Well, it all comes down to viewership. Hungrybox was worried because Sonic was killing the viewership of his tournaments. This is the key factor of this debate that a lot of times got lost within the fury and the rage that Twitter debates so often foster. But this argument had many pros and cons attached to it, so let's go over them just a little bit. As HBox pointed out, when Sonix vs. Wrath Grand Finals started, his viewership plummeted. The main argument in favor of a Sonic ban is that, well, Sonic is lame. People don't like Sonic. So, to make tournaments more fun, ban Sonic. That is the main argument in favor of the ban. It's important to remember, no one is arguing that Sonic should be banned because he's overpowered. People just think that he's lame to watch and are tired of watching the same two Sonics in top 4 of the Coinbox. Now, the cons of this ban, however, are pretty obvious, right? It's not competitive. This ban, because it's not about balance, would never catch on to anywhere else. The fact that it's about viewership means that, unlike the Steve ban, no one else would follow suit. And so, the Coinbox is less competitive automatically than every other tournament. Additionally, this Sonic ban is quite different than the Steve ban in the sense that it's very targeted specifically towards Wrath and Sonix. After all, Steve is famous for nearly anyone being able to pick him up and win with him. But Sonic? Wrath and Sonix are the only two Sonic players who are making waves in the Coinbox, as Wrath rightfully pointed out. HBox might as well just ban Sonix and Wrath personally, and the result would be the exact same. So clearly, we're at a standstill. HBox wants to ban Sonic because it kills his viewership. The Sonic players feel as though this is unfairly targeted. Yes, HBox does ultimately have the final say in his tournament series, but he does have a lot of influence in this community, and this is the revenue of two hardworking players that we're talking about. Is it really fair to take away that revenue from Sonix and Wrath just because you want more viewers on your stream? When realistically, it's not like you won't be able to pay rent because of this drop in views. So how do we resolve this? Well, Hungrybox decided to resolve this in the most Hungrybox way he possibly could have. He streamed a debate. And to be perfectly frank with all of you, this was not the most serious thing in the world. It was kind of silly at times, kind of stupid at others. I'll link the stream to it in the description if you'd like to go through it all. There were some good points made, and there are good portions of it which actually is a good-spirited debate. But there were a lot of people there with a lot of opinions, and a lot of them being kind of irrelevant to the topic at hand. So allow me to give you the summary of the debate which Hungrybox posted. As of right now, this is the official resolution of this discussion that made the Smash community explode yesterday. Number 1, Sonix is not getting banned in the Coinbox, period. I believe this is a good thing, as I think most people recognized that banning Sonix in general was a step too far. Number 2, the Steve ban is going to be revisited later on in the year. This one I actually find quite fascinating, as HBox has been slowly backpedaling on the Steve ban over the past few months. Potentially, we could see Steve become legal in every Coinbox moving forward. And unlike the Sonix ban, Hungrybox is definitely very influential when it comes to the Steve ban. So HBox unbanning Steve could potentially mark a shift in the attitude towards that ban discussion. Number 3. Once a month, the Coinbox will experiment with a new stage list or rule set to hopefully change up the somewhat stale meta. This will be called the Sandbox, which, yeah, okay, that's clever, Juan. And number 4, variety events will be happening, like a doubles Coinbox, a low tiers Coinbox, and more. I think this was the most requested thing from people out of the Coinbox, and I'm very glad to see that it'll be happening. I think number 3 and number 4 are very good things for the future of the scene as a whole, but especially with Wi-Fi in general, which has definitely gotten a bit stale lately. But where does that leave this video? After all, doesn't this mean that the issue is resolved? HBox said he wasn't banning Sonix and new rule sets are being experimented with. So why did I make this video at all? Am I clickbaiting you? Well, no. Because this got way bigger than HBox probably expected it to, and now that the cat's out of the bag, it might not want to go back in. If you thought the Steve ban discourse was annoying, the Sonix ban discourse is here, and it's even worse. But I wanted to bring something else to this discussion, something I found interesting and that not a lot of people are talking about. Many people yesterday compared Sonix in Ultimate to Puff in Melee. Many people found it ironic that Hungrybox, of all people, who terrorized the Melee scene for years as number 1 with a campy Jigglypuff, is the one who is now spearheading the charge against Sonix, and even attempting to ban the character just because now it's personally hurting his viewership. But HBox responded to these sentiments by saying how this is different because he was the only Puff doing it in Melee, while in Ultimate there are multiple Sonix. But to be honest, is the difference between 1 and 2 really that big when either way the character is in Grands? Personally, I don't think so. And I'm also skeptical of the idea that HBox would have supported anti-Puff measures in Melee had he not been the only one, which is a narrative that he's been pushing lately. I'm sorry, HBox, I'm just not really sure I believe that. But this specific comparison did make a lot of people think. Because Puff did eventually get nerfed in Melee thanks to the ledge grab limit. And many people have started to propose we apply similar measures to Sonix in Ultimate. Certain things like a spin dash limit, for example. Although to be fair, that would be very hard to enforce as the game doesn't keep track of your side Bs, which is the thing that allows the ledge grab limit in Melee to be easily enforceable. But some people have suggested radical changes to the rules that only apply to Sonix. For example, if a game against a Sonix player goes to time, no matter what, the Sonix would lose that game. There is some variation of whether or not this would only happen on even stocks or if it would happen no matter the stock deficit, but the idea is still the same. In the event of a timeout, Sonix automatically loses. This makes camping as Sonix a much less effective strategy, because if you commit to it, you have to get the kill before the game ends or risk losing the game. I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about these types of proposals, but to end off this video, I wanted to ask you all about it. How do you feel about these proposed additions to the rule set to nerf Sonix or even other characters like Steve or Game & Watch? Do you think the stuff I talked about in this video would work? Do you have any ideas of your own? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, it's certainly possible, as it's been proven to work in Melee with Jigglypuff, but Ultimate is a very different game. and the community is very resistant to change in general, so it's definitely a controversial topic. Just as a slight reminder though, I have no horse in this race. I really do not care what happens, so please don't attack me down in the comments because you think I lean one way or the other. There are no notable Sonic players in my region, I don't play online at all, and Steve is banned in Kansas City, so I literally don't have to deal with any of these problems. But let me know what you think in regards to your region and the Smash community at large in the comments down below. That's going to be it for today's video. Before I go, shout out to my patrons Seth Laster, Frosco333, Logan S, Percy Palm, Wawa, Mr. Sinister, and my tier 2 patrons Iltis and Diamond Blaze. Additionally, shout out my YouTube members Loco Soko, DTR Jr., Defective, Diarrhea, Fan of, Boston R, Iltis, Gone SSB, Kirby Fan, and my tier 2 members Mike G, Wu-Tang Forever, and Stormtrooper. Lastly, extra special thanks to my tier 3 patrons Ocean Man, who says RisterMice is sorry for playing Min Min, MistyBot, who says in my opinion Me Gunner is high tier, and Fat Blizzard, who says Zomba is top 10. If you want to support me using any of these methods, links are in the description below. Don't miss tomorrow's upload, but until then, I've been RisterMice and thank you all so very much for watching.